Sure, Rishi. Thank you. And very valid points on how the demand or the view of people towards a job is changing. Right? I mean, and you can see that through generations, because earlier you would have our own parents who would just take one job and be there forever, because job security used to be a big issue. There were no jobs. If you have a government job, you please stick there. Doesn't matter if you're not getting hikes, but at least you have job security. And if you look at from that point of view, the generation gaps, earlier, how would you define a baby boomer to later millennial to Gen Zs to, now others as well? The gap, the amount, the years is reducing because of the change in the technology and environment is happening so fast that you now in every 10 years, you have a different generation coming up, and you can already start feeling a generation gap between you and your own friends who are maybe 10 years younger. Right? And this is predominantly happening because of the changing environment and how you perceive certain things. Overall, if you look at it from the point of view of organization, first thing should always be there that like we said, I mean, there were very valid points from Ketan also of saying, you keep the business in focus first, right? Employees are going to be extremely important for each organization, but not at the cost of business suffering and not achieving the results, right? You can have happy employees, but not a growing organization. You can have engaged employees, not getting all the satisfaction which they need, but still they are engaged and growing for themselves as well, right? So there's, if we just look at from the point of view of only the benefits and at the cost of the business, then no organization will survive for long. You might give those frills to them and then later on say, you can see all around us, right? I mean, from Facebook to Amazon to others who are having job cuts now because of certain business issues. So as long as the business is doing well, you can always look at it. So first and foremost would be keeping the business at the focus of saying what we need to achieve out of it. Now there are no horses for there's no set standard way of doing or dealing with the situation on jobs. It's going to be horses for courses. Like one thing which always comes to my mind is change management. Change is the only constant which we talk about. So look at it from the point of view of saying which job, like you just said, salespeople were never required to come to office. It still remains relevant today also. So in our company itself, the sales and marketing team during the COVID itself, they were working through different hybrid models. They were never required to come to office. We also have a manufacturing plant where we had to have people still working in the plant. We could not let them go and work from home. That's not a possibility which can happen. What can you do? Flexibility of saying, what is the skeletal staffing which you would require people to come just to ensure that the business is running? And because it was all about surviving than excelling, right? So, and again, it all comes down to the necessity. If your necessity is there, necessity is the mother of invention. You will think of different ways of getting things done. Earlier, people could never, we all knew about work from home. I used to work in IT companies as well, and they knew about it, but they didn't want to experiment because there was no need. The survival was not at stake. When during the lockdown that happened, they were all suddenly so open to see or saying what can work and what cannot work. So when it comes to freelancers, now are called gig employers, right, or employees, where they would do certain jobs for certain people. But the only thing which we need to understand is that there should not be a conflict of interest. All these things are legally right, because as you saw, the moonlighting cases were coming up. People are having two jobs with a similar kind of industry, and sharing those information with each other can be really harmful to the business. Again, coming from the legal and from business point of view, if it's not helping an organization and leading to harm, then no amount of these benefits would help. So people should, when you are having an organization, you keep the focus and then look at what possibilities are there. Of course, you should allow work from home to certain people if that is possible. It's not harming the overall culture, because you can't have certain people in the office not coming and certain coming, and still the information isn't there. So what kind of flexibilities can you have? For example, we can say, okay, 3 days you come to office, 2 days you pick, and then you can work from there. Because certain times you would also need people to understand the culture, need to work together. to understand where the company is going. The virtual platform, like right now we are just talking, right? And we just faced a glitch where we are not able to get Dr. Shekhar. What do? Right? So you will face these challenges as well. This would not have happened if all six of us were there in the same and were also addressing the people. But look at the advantage. We are now reaching out to so many people who are right now online with us and talking, right? But still we could not have gotten all of them to one office. So no, there's no set way of working, but the only thing which you should think of is we should be flexible and we should always be adaptable to the change which is happening, because you have seen organizations coming and go. Companies like Kodak, who never thought that a phone would take away their business. There are so many companies who just did not recognize the change was happening around them, and they stayed rigid to one way of working. There's not going to be one way of working. You'll have to have places. You will have people who would say, I want to work for passion. Although I still feel that that percentage is still very low as compared to the people who overall would require jobs, right? So we should have that flexibility. We just should understand, okay, certain roles we can say, okay, we'll hire you on contract. We'll hire you for 3 months. You get an assignment done. After that, you go and join somewhere else. We should have a problem, because that, how is it helping the business again? Because the business keeping a person idle and on bench like it used to happen in IT companies is still not helping. You're paying for them, they are non-productive. You would rather hire them for 3-4 months, let them do the assignment and go ahead and do it with someone else. So as long as we take care of the interest of the organization and everything is legal, we should look at all these options, because this will keep happening. This is the change. Like we said, the generation gap is reducing the span. Every 5 years, we might now start seeing certain things totally changing, and we were never aware of things coming in. So HR, as a partner of business, should always advise the business on saying what all are the possibilities. You should be the voice of the people and also be the voice of the organization to say why and what we are. As long as we do that, it is fine. You will never be able to satisfy everyone. Let's be honest about it. No matter how many engagement initiatives you bring about, you will still have people with some or the other issues. That will happen. But let it be progressive. As long as you have the right intent and you have a good idea of what's happening around, you can keep making these changes. And you will find places for freelancers. You will have places for these freemiums who would charge more later on. But that also happens now as well. So from the point of view of high skill versus low skill, it's also about reskilling. A lot of companies do not let go of the people and then ask them to do certain other jobs so that they can stay reskilled. So that's another thing which is going to be important. Not only looking at saying who are low skilled and high skilled, you reskill certain employees and see if they would want to work in certain areas. That also will help them to basically retain their jobs as well. So that's, I just want to summarize in the order saying, as long as you have business in focus, you are adaptable to the environment and look at solutions for different, you are open to different solutions for different set of people. I think we have enough scope for people to practice all these passions as well as profession, how they would want to pursue.